The first Republican presidential debate of the 2024 election took place last night in Milwaukee. 8 candidates on the stage, all trying to separate themselves from each other for prospective voters. However, the party frontrunner did not participate. Here to give us his take on what happened and who had the best night, Kirby Goidel, a Texas A&M political science professor. Kirby, thank you so much for being with us today.
Always glad to talk politics.
Okay, before we get to specifics about the candidates, do you think this was a beneficial debate for prospective primary voters?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure how to answer it because they learned a lot if they watched. You learned a lot about this sort of second tier of candidates behind Donald Trump, and there are some real interesting divisions within the Republican Party on foreign policy, for example. How much should we support Ukraine? And so there are really important questions that are being answered here, and really important divisions within the Republican Party. But as long as Trump is in the race, then he sort of takes all the oxygen out of the air.
Yeah, and former President Trump did not participate. Maybe surprisingly, he wasn't talked about all that much throughout the course of last night's debate. I think there was only one question really posed about him by the moderators. Are you surprised at how little time was dedicated to the former president?
I am absolutely fascinated by the fact that you do have this second tier of candidates, and if you want to win the nomination, if you're a Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, I think you have to go after Trump. Some of them understand this, Chris Christie, but he doesn't have a lot of support within the party. Mike Pence seems to understand that he has to offer an alternative to Trump. Nikki Haley, but you're not getting a real direct takedown. And so it almost seems like they're all playing for the future of the Republican Party once Trump is gone, and they're not really playing for this election cycle, unless they're trying to be VP.
Very, very fair. Was there anything else that maybe surprised you, aside from the fact that Trump really wasn't talked about?
Well, Vivek Ramaswamy came in and really dominated the airwaves. Now, his performance has gotten mixed reviews. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it, because it was surprising how engaged he was with other candidates. He's fairly young, he's politically inexperienced, and they were sort of going back and forth in this debate. But he also was a little irritating. So either people loved it because he was sort of playing this Trump role, or they really didn't like it because he seemed like an upstart and not very knowledgeable and not very politically experienced.
Some of the things that I saw included attack trackers, and he seemed to be at the top of most of those lists of people that levied the most attacks against other candidates there on the stage. Who do you think had the best night?
So that's tough, and again, you sort of have to think about what were you trying to accomplish in this debate performance. I think the person who maybe had the worst night, in my opinion, is Ron DeSantis, because he was almost running as though he were the front runner, right? Avoid getting knocked down. I thought Nikki Haley did really well. She came across as competent. She came across as aggressive in the right sort of ways, but you know. Again, there's this question, without Trump in the room, what does that mean? And if you really want to say who won the debate, I think Trump kind of did, because they didn't go after him. They didn't take this opportunity to really challenge him without him in the room. It's a lot easier to challenge Trump when he's not there.
Right. I guess we say that, and then I'm going to ask you this question, because Mike Pence, after the debate, said Donald Trump is not going to be the GOP nominee. What do you make of that?
I think that's what they're all hoping, right? And they're all thinking that because of his legal troubles, maybe because of the 14th Amendment questions that some people have raised about whether he's actually eligible to run for president because of the January 6th events, that he's going to fall out. I'm not convinced of that. I think it's the sort of same situation in 2016 where there were a lot of candidates like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio who thought, don't go after Trump, he's going to explode, he's going to fall to the wayside, and then one of us is going to win, because that's just what has to happen. And I think a lot of those candidates are making that same calculation. But I don't think you become the champ unless you beat the champ.
Yeah. The first of many Republican debates. Kirby Goidel, a Texas A&M political science professor, breaking down last night's GOP debate. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.